Hey guys. Okay, end of the month just happened. Might get a little rough, but let's look at what we got here. So we came down to the bottom of that channel where I exited my trade there, and our action right now is really choppy. Actually, you can see these lower lows, how we get a hammer and a hammer. So both of these look like stop grabbers. Although we haven't got our initial move out. This one actually looked like it was going to be it. We got a stop grabber, and then we got a stop grabber. So that doesn't really tell us much. I do like that we've broken over, and we're over. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about that. We are definitely over. There's a couple ways I can take this line. That's the sharpest one, which looks like what I'm doing is I'm taking these 2 points here, and we got our breathe there. And if you take another trend line here, we got our breathe there. So definitely are breaking up, even though we're making lower lows. So that's something to watch. Looks like we're coming into the end of the game here for a bit of a retracement. We got a nice trend line up here, which we can look at if I zoom out a bit more. Nice trend line up here, which we could hit. My guru that I watch, he was talking about how ugly this retracement was, and we might be in the same retracement here, where we actually get an A and a deeper B and a C. So that's the retracement to my guru, which is Carlos Wolf. If you want to look at his stuff, he relies heavily on wave counting, which I don't like to get into. I like to get into actually levels you can trade. So anyway, wave counting wise, we may be into a garbled situation here, and especially being end of the month and non-farm coming out, I expect this to be ugly. But we have started breaking up trend lines, as you can see, and we've even done another break just recently here. Although it's not confirmed in this time frame. If you check it out in the 15-minute, which we will, you can see that we've broken there too. So we're definitely breaking up, which doesn't mean that we won't do a deep breathe again and do a super stop grabber, or just go up and finish our retracement. So I'm not going to get into wave counting because it's very confusing. We may be breaking levels and just continuing down. We may be looking at a garbled retracement. Not quite sure, but we will get into the trading levels. Just looking at, I mean, if we get into, I'm just looking at the H4 here for our last swing low that was properly respected or properly broken, and that seems to be up here at the 2500. So if we come up into the 2500 because of the non-farm or for retracement, that's totally cool. We're still in the same overall bearish run. We will be a breakup of that though, which is fine. We can do that too. Anyway, that's the 2450, 2460 area. So that's an area to watch, definitely, if we get up into there. Let's check out the weekly, because we're about to close on the week. So if we get a burst up, the reason why I'm showing the weekly is because if on non-farm we move up into 2500, we're still below the trend line, but we haven't closed below the last week here, which was at 2492, and I have targets up at 2510. So if we close the week up there, it's going to be extremely bullish, or it might indicate that we're going into a bit more of a bigger retracement. But if we just close below like normal, and try to push up and give a retracement, then we're all systems down, and we actually have a ceiling at that point at 2510, which means that next week we could go up into here and get a really nice trade down for our bigger down targets. Yeah, 25. Basically, my targets at 25.10 and whatnot are the top of this trend line again in the daily here. So that's good. We got, you know, if we do jump up there for the non-farm, I'm not going to trade the non-farm, but if I was going to trade the non-farm, I'd definitely be looking for some sharp entries in here. Could be a wicked stop grabber off this level. So that's why I'm mentioning it. Our ultimate move I have here anyways down to about 2150. That's the ultimate that I like out of this area. In the daily, we have bigger targets if we go weekly, of course, but in the daily I like that. And again, if we extend this trend line out, what we may do is get our retracement, you know, maybe next week, right, and then drop down into our ultimate targets, and then we'd have a proper leg here. And if I use this, you can see that the reason I exited my trade was because we're getting down into where, you know, oh, I can't use that fib, sorry. I'll do it the other way. Yeah, so the 2618 here, that's the reason why I got out of my trade, because we're either going into an extended move or a truncated move at this point, where we'll go here and then proper retracement, or we're going to move straight through it, or anyway, it starts getting gambly and my risk reward goes out on when I have long-term trades on, so I just take them off. Oops. Oh, come on. Okay. We are going to get into levels to trade tonight, not to worry. Again, we're still making lower lows with higher MACD, higher RSI, higher CCI, so that's something to watch here. Also, although when you get running markets like this, watching indicators for a bottom is brutal. You really need to trade it off fibs. Again, I think I'm showing my ultimate level. Oh no, this is the ultimate for the internals. So yeah, this is what I think we should hit personally, like if we're not really dicking around. The 2300 to 2285 area, I'd really like to see that hit before we go into the retracement. Personally, that doesn't mean that's not going to happen, but the way I see this is we're extended in time, and we've already done a retracement here, which I didn't catch last night. Oh, I should show you my trade from last night too. But that to me is the way we're going, but we are extended in time if we start using time fibs, which I don't usually use because I don't find them easy to trade on. You can see that we went 1, 2, and then our 3 leg came down into our target, which was, if you do a target here, I'll just show it to you. If you do a target here, oh wow, we actually went through it, never mind. But anyway, our time ends quite well, and then we go into our retracement, and then another leg down. So weird action is happening now. That's all I have to say. And if you took this as a leg down, look at this crazy sharp retracement. That isn't this retracement. This is internal. It's a slow retracement, whereas this one's quite fast, stop grabber type. So if you take that as its own system down, we actually go into 2250 down lower. So anyway, basically my fibs aren't lining up with each other, and I'm not getting such a correlation of levels, with so many levels coming in from the bigger time frames and trend lines. And I do like this though. We've broken, and we you know, let's see if we can get another breathe down into 2300 for a bounce. Now if I look at the Camarillas today, 2300 is just below the L4, so it's still a good level. Although in the in this time frame, we're actually breaking up here too. We've been breaking up trend lines. I have this one other trend line from last night that's been holding it, as you can see here. And I'll just zoom out and show you why I have that trend line. Go way out here. Yeah, I was using that from here. I'm going to get rid of this trend line and this trend line. So last night I was playing with this. I took a trade here, which I'm going to show you. And you can see that I took a 0 and it made higher highs. I actually had this trade too, but I wasn't willing to trade it and I actually went into bed. I was thinking that maybe I could play that one, but nah. Anyway, you can see here where I took a 0, nice trend line. We're still under that trend line. We did a brutal break, breathe, and then break back down. Horrible breathe. Glad I wasn't trading in here. That was horrible. And then we've stayed under that basically since. So the reason I have these smaller trend lines in here is they're very local, and we're just breaking them up. I just have all the variations here. You can see that we broke, breathe, sort of broke this one. We haven't quite breathed. I don't know, it's pretty ugly in there right now. Anyway, I was actually looking on the 1 hour. I had a setup here with a hammer. We did a hammer and closed above, so I was going to take the smallest fib down. So I looked in the, I think it was a 5 minute, yeah. And I have if this was an A, B, C, I was expecting, a drop right here, and I would have done a buy on the L3 and on the fib, expecting it to be basically a picking up of pending orders when you get a bull action like this. So you get, the way I trade candles is you get a hammer here, and you get a close above, and then immediately, well, sometimes you get a momentum, but usually you get a candle coming down collecting orders in the body of the hammer. So it comes down, collects the pending, and then we go. So that may have already happened. We're now breaking up the 3x3 in the 1 hour, so it might be too late for, just never hit the fibs. You can see how ugly it was here. Just all the orders getting filled there, and we might be off. We're already breaking up here. We got nice break, breathe. Didn't take it, didn't even see it actually. And we're breaking again, so it's probably too late. Okay, so let's get into orders trading tonight. Now, non-farm. If you guys, please don't use my video for trading non-farm because it'll be too old, way too old. Although the bigger levels you can trade. And the way I do that is you confirm the bigger levels with the smaller levels. Bigger time frame levels with the smaller time frame. So as it comes into the non-farm announcement, you want to look at what fibs have been created and make sure they line up with the bigger time frames and the trend lines, and just keep them out there. Don't not like, ooh, 5 minutes. Don't do that crazy stuff. And of course you're looking for confluence. Now if this is an ABC, before we do another down, we have a level tonight that we can try, and it's just at the pivot. We can try a sell at a 23.75. I like it because it's higher than the high of the day here so far, so it could be a bit of a stop grabber. I also like that you have the H3 right beyond it. If it does come up and hit the H3 though, it's not rejected on the pivot, I would look to exit. So let me show you how we do this. Okay. Let's say we do a breathe here, and we go up into the pivot, and we do a sell. If it doesn't respect the pivot and keeps moving and bounces off the H3, look to get out, because it's not respecting fibs, it's respecting the H3, and I don't have a fib up to the H3. That's just one of the reasons I like the trade. So anyway, look to get out at a 0 here, and then if it gets dicked around between the H3 and the pivot, you can ride that out, and if it gets above, then we do have big targets up, but you got the 400 level right above that, and this is really big. This move down, our first fib up is at 2,500 because of this move. So, and if you're looking to take a ride down, I don't really think that you should try anything until 24.50 if it gets through this area. If it doesn't get through this area, we're looking for a lower low, maybe a triple bottom, not a huge move, even to the L3 is fine. So, and a breathe over this line, right? So it comes up here, get a nice action, reaction, 40 pips, excellent, get out of the move. I'm not expecting to take a big move down off this, just because we're in huge areas of resistance. So even if it comes down, you know, to the ultimate targets, it's only another what is that, 50 pips, right? So I mean, if you want to take half out and try to ride through all that garbage there, try to ride a spike, but just get ready to get out at specific levels. Well, I don't have any levels right now to get out at, of course. Our fibs here worked really well if you had just ignored trend lines yesterday and this kind of garbagey action that happened. Our first fib here was really ugly. We just moved right through it. But if you use a trick I learned in Vietnam, you take the second fib, and it's usually such a beautiful reaction. Actually, this one wasn't even taken. Oh, no, sorry, I'm in the wrong spot. There to there, yeah. Oh, I'm using the wrong fib here. Anyway, if I do it the other way, you'll see it's at 2618. Doesn't matter which way you do it. So anyway, you can see that we destroyed one fib and moved straight into the next fib, and you see how sharp that reaction was out of it? So that's beautiful. You lose your 10, 20 pips, whatever your stop loss is that you're comfortable with, and then you immediately, boom, you make it back. So that's a little trick I learned in Vietnam, and I love to trade it because if it disrespects a fib, it's supposed to go back to the fib, which was right here, minimum. So you take your next one and you make your trade back. It's like, it's great. It's such a beautiful way to play that. The other thing I wanted to show you was using prior market here. The next one that was respected was right there. Right, so you got your prior market fib, and we had massive respect on it at the 23 though. So either one of these trades, so if you'd taken that one, you would have made it back immediately there, and you'd still be in on this one. So good action still, just confusing with the trend lines and the counts. So fibs are working just fantastic. Okay, so that's my trade that I am going to try to test here, especially if it happens at, you know, market open. You know, we get a break, a breathe. If I get a sexy breathe here that I can trade, I may test that too. But if I get no fibs, it's really tough for me to take break breathes just psychologically for myself. So, so I may not be able to ride this up. But it's a nice ride because you got, you know, 30 pips on a break breathe. It's, for those traders that like one-to-one stuff, it's better than one-to-one. So there is that move, and then there's this move down, which I like even better. And remember, dainty, if it pops through your fib, which we have at 2377, 2375 area, if it gets through this pivot to the H3, look to get out on the bounce of the H3 and ride this out. You can, if it is going to go down, you just do what I did last night, right? Look how beautiful this was. I got it. Oh, I haven't showed you my trade yet. It's right here. So you can see I sold right here. It went 5 pips, I think, above me. Ooh, 7 pips above. Ugly. Went 7 pips above, and then I got out immediately on the bounce. I was trying to take it nice and deep, actually, because my projection was actually a few pips lower, so I gave it that little extra, and it still punched through. And I actually had, my trend line was different last night. I think it was here. Yeah. So I was using this spike. So yeah, that was really nice actually, because I had where I wanted to trade, and I knew that if I wasn't going to get respect out of this area, I would at least get respect on the trend line and be able to get out at zero. I love doing that. I love having that extra insurance. And then it moved up into levels that I wasn't willing to trade, and I didn't stay up for it. And then it did this beautiful break, breathe, time, everything. This was just beautiful, and we went down out of that. So we got a break breathe, and it was a break breathe here back on the H3. So that's what I'm talking about here. You can ride this if it's going to go garbagey like this. I'll just put the pivot here. You can wait, you know, say it just disrespects the crap out of this area, goes garbagey, and then you can get a spike, back to the H3 or the pivot, you look for a little fib in there, and then ride this down into whatever levels I was talking about there, which you can just do a fib off the top here and get the same level. Anyway, that's how I'm looking to trade the open tonight. And if that doesn't happen, I'm not staying up for non-farm. I'm just, I'm trying to schedule around the euro, so, and just changing my schedule or staying up longer for non-farm is unwise. I actually learned a lot of my trading on the non-farm. I loved the non-farm when I first started because I was only trading bigger time frames. It was really fun. People telling me, oh, don't trade the non-farm, it's really difficult. It's easy pips in the non-farm. Just stick to your bigger fibs and look for a confirmation, and it's just amazing. Especially if it moves into a fib right before the non-farm, like toodles down, and then not, and it's a big fib, not like 5 minute or 15 minute. And then non-farm comes out, it just motors off your fib. It's incredible. And you can put big targets out there too, because you know you're going to get 100 pips out of the move. Especially if it needled down into your trade, and then, oh, it's great. I really like that. Yeah, so yeah, and again, if we get above this level, it could go apeshit up into the bigger levels tonight. Because of this smooth move down here. You start getting basically your first resistance above the H4, which you don't want to play with. You don't want to, or I don't like to play up in here unless I have trend lines and lots of reasons. But the H4 trade is usually you're trading the H4 to the H5, so there's intraday players in there you don't want to fight with. But yeah, our first little tiny bit of resistance is at 24.25, so the major resistance, the major swing high here is just monstrous. So because of this nice smooth move down, we're looking at massive move, 25.10. And that is basically one of the places where I put my sell. If the non-farm came out and we were still dicking around down here and it just exploded, just went crazy, I'd sell at 24.25. Because we have a major fib off the bottom, and if you remember, our trend line in the daily is there. So, is it there? Yeah. Wow, what's my sell at? What is that? Holy crap. Sell at 25.44. Anyway, yeah, so I like that. And especially if it happens, what is this, the daily? Oh yeah, man, wow. That's the 3x3. You got trend line right above that. Actually, trend line's at, if it happens today, at 25.80. So that's a bit of a stop loss. Anyway, that's my first fib that I like, is from there to there. If we're going to do a full fib, so a bigger time frame one, we may hit those bigger targets. 25.96. So bam. If it goes on motoring, that's a beauty right there too, because that's at the trend line. So you got one at the 3x3 and one at the trend line. They both should give you a bounce. Yeah. And that's how I'm playing tonight. And if I do a trade, I'll try to come back on. I did do a trade yesterday and didn't come back on because it wasn't very exciting and I wasn't doing any more trading, so you weren't going to learn anything from it. And I will see you next week. Bye.